got Wayne Dorban here and William Horvath. Wayne's in Southern California, San Diego, and William is in Croatia. And isn't it cool that we can be talking together with all of you that are all around the world over the internet? What a neat thing to be able to do. I am sitting in the lobby of a hotel, actually in a hallway, and using my phone to talk to all of you and using the internet. A little bit of the format today is I'm just going to briefly introduce William here. He did a wonderful session 2 weeks ago that you can go back and listen to the replay of. By the way, a lot of you are probably not yet registered on what is called the Economic Action Team, which is who hosts these presentations. I'm going to register for you. I will get you registered in the next probably 24 hours. Then you're going to be able to go back and watch the replays. Mark, who's on here, and you guys need to get friendly with Mark. Mark is the one who does all our replays and puts it together. Usually he'll have it ready before I'm ready to put it up, probably within the next 24 hours or less. So this will be up as a replay for everybody to come back and listen to, take notes, and do all that cool stuff with. So I'm going to just turn it over to William and let him go, because he's got a lot to teach us about. All yours, William.
Okay, just let me know if you see my screen.
I got it. Your screen's great. And I'm actually going to turn my webcam off. So you guys are going to just be seeing William here.
All right, so welcome everybody. And as I said last time, for you who were there, we're going to start with the importance of context of where we are as a society, and this is the big picture. So this is like an overview of what I said last time. So we have research, design, and setup. The whole project or the whole program is designing and setting up a resilient farm and designing our lifestyles in preparation for changes that are coming. And so we are now in the research stage. So I'll just put a small disclaimer here that I'll be unloading a lot of research, and a lot of research will be disturbing. But knowledge is power, and it's necessary to know where we're headed as a society, that we have a realistic view of challenges that we are facing, so we can be proactive. So first, okay, research and the context before we move. This is going to be a two-part series, because there is so much to cover. And because there is so much to cover, I didn't invent all this. I've done a comprehensive research, and you'll be able to find the resources that I've used for this presentation at this link. So you can just go to my website and then press /EAT, and you'll be able to sign up to see those resources. Okay, so let's start. So I'll take a really big picture here, because in permaculture we always look from patterns to details, and what I have to say is that we have reached a turning point in our society. The next 100 years will determine whether we perish or thrive. And as I said, we're going to take a big look. We look always from patterns to details. Where we head as a society is a giant pattern. Your daily life, your grinding is actually a small detail in everything. So I showed you this graph last time. This comes from David Colgan, who is co-originator of the permaculture concept. And according to him, we have 4 different types of future that we can expect, and it's all based on the energy, because energy is the master resource. It's absolutely critical, and there is no substitute for energy. So this is the big picture. Most of the debates focuses on immediate future, 10 to 20 years. But I think it's important that we get, that we think about changes that are coming in centuries. So according to him, there are 4 broad energy scenarios that will provide framework for us to think about various scenarios that have happened in the future. The first one is techno-explosion. Techno-explosion, of course, depends on the new large and concentrated energy sources. that will allow the continual growth in material wealth and human power over environmental constraints, as well as population growth. This scenario is generally associated with space travel to colonize other planets. So if we have enough energy, and if we are able to go above the constraints of our planet, we'll probably end up as a civilization that colonizes space in the next 100 years. The next possible scenario is techno-stability. I call this scenario like a green tech future. And this depends on the seamless conversion from material growth based on depleting energy to a steady state in consumption of resources and population, if not economic activity as well, all based on no use of renewable energies and technologies that can maintain, if not improve, the quality of services available from current systems. Then we have energy descent. Energy descent involves a reduction of economic activity, complexity, and population in some sort as fossil fuels are depleted. And then the increasing dependence on renewable resources of lower energy will over time change the structure of society. Essentially, it will simplify it. This, of course, suggests the ruralization of settlement and economy with less consumption of energy and resources and a progressive decline in human population. I would bet that many of you don't actually realize that David Holmgren and Bill Mollison actually developed permaculture as a framework as a response to energy descent future that they were expecting in 1970s as they were reading a Limits to Growth report. And just to quote David Holmgren, he said that both Bill and him believed that permaculture was going to be projected into a collapsing world and would rise as a whole conceptual framework. So this is the origin of permaculture. Yeah.
Wait, I jumped in for a second. You've got a little bit of an echo. I don't know whether your mic might just be a little off, and it comes about every 5 seconds or so.
Is it happening now?
That was better.
That's better, yeah? Okay, so the next we have collapse. And collapse suggests a failure of whole range of interlocked systems that maintain and support our industrial society as high quality fossil fuels are depleted and climate change radically damages the ecological support systems. The collapse would be fast and compared to energy descent, which would be slow decline, and it would of course involve a major die-off of human population and loss of knowledge and infrastructure necessary for industrial civilization. This also could include human extinction, along with much of planet's biodiversity. So the main question is, where are we headed? What kind of future are we going to? Techno explosion, techno stability, energy descent, or collapse? It's my hope that I will, try to present a case based on the present and future trends that you'll be then able to, understand where we're going as a society. And the first trend that we're going to look is energy. Our current economy and culture is largely built upon reliance of cheap oil. From the cars we drive, to jets we fly, to the buildings we live in, to the food we eat, to the clothes we wear, almost everything, everything in our fabric of life, daily fabric of modern life, is either powered by oil, built from oil, or made by machines powered by oil. And oil is also a key chemical component in our pesticides and fertilizers, and as well as fueling powering the machinery that tills the soil, harvests crops, processes and ships our food. So you could say that literally we are eating oil. Well, at least some of us, or most of the society. And it's not just the consumption of oil is increasing, the whole energy consumption is increasing as well. And experts are virtually certain that demand for energy will rise dramatically, almost 50% over the next 15 to 20 years. And that is largely in response to growing population and rapid economic growth. in the developing world. But what we are seeing in our energy sector is the growing gap between what is discovered and what is produced. We have increasing production, but less and less discovery. Many petroleum geologists believe that roughly 90%, 95% of our world petroleum resources have already been discovered. And according to some energy groups, the momentous event known as peak oil has already happened in 2006. And the world didn't end. And this doesn't mean that we are running out of oil. It just means that despite our best efforts, we have gradually less and less oil available each year, and that is through an increasing extraction costs. So we can say that peak oil is here, but it is not quite catastrophic. And this is because we had a substantial substitution by non-conventional oil and gas that has compensated for the significant declines in conventional oil production since 2005. And much of this increased production and optimism in today's world derives from unconventional oil and gas being developed in North America specifically. And two technologies are important here, and that's horizontal drilling and hydraulic fracking. And these two are actually driving new energy, renaissance that we are experiencing. And that's why maybe you heard, but experts are saying that United States is a new Saudi Arabia with how much oil and gas is trapped in the shale rocks. But the greatest obstacle, to this technology is the environmental cost and environmental impact. As much as extraction of tar sands and oil from tar sands is doing damage to the environment, this all tells us that getting oil out of the ground is getting harder and more expensive as time goes on. So what we have left is hard to get. It's expensive in money and energy terms. The easy stuff is gone. It's gone. And if there was easy stuff to get, we wouldn't be drilling ultra deep waters, fracking at enormous expense, or boiling tar residue from Canadian sands. And this is important because of this, because it takes energy to get energy. And this is what energy scientists call energy return on energy invested. What this term describes is the ratio of how much energy you need to invest to get that energy out of the ground to be able to use it. And fossil fuels, they were abundant source of concentrated energy. Let's say in the 1930s, the cheap oil had energy return on energy investment ratio 100 to 1. That means that you needed to invest 1 barrel of oil to get 100 barrels out. This is as close as it gets to free energy. And since then, it has been steadily dropping. We are now currently globally at 10 to 1. And as you can see on the image, Canadian tar sands are almost close to 1 to 1. And this, net energy is important because now we are coming back to what I said in the beginning, and this is that our culture, our economy, our jobs, and progress of society itself all exist due to this surplus energy. And how much we can produce is less relevant than how much surplus energy there is to fuel the rest. Can you see me? Something happened?
It looks fine.
Can you see?
Fine.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yep. Yeah, it looks fine.
Okay. Yeah, I had a slow connection. Okay. So what I was saying that the ratio of energy invested to energy returned is slowly decreasing, and So we are getting less and less surplus of energy, and what we're how we're going to end up as a society depends on that net energy. Once we get to energy return of energy invested to ratio 1:1, we don't have energy source anymore. So we move from burning wood to burning coal, then to oil, and the question is now what comes next. And what comes next? We have alternative energy, and one of the most promising is solar energy. And globally, when we look globally, we have 174 petawatts of solar energy available, and we are currently using only 16 terawatts. So energy is not scarce. We just haven't figured out a way, to get it. In other words, there is abundance of energy, which we just need to tap into. So solar technology or photovoltaic technology is improving fast. We can see that the cost is decreasing constantly, and it has a substantial growth potential that could disrupt the global energy environment. But the main problem with solar energy is that it's intermittent source. It only generates power when sun is shining. Without some efficient energy storage such as batteries, we won't be able to fully replace our energy generating systems. So for now, it's great for private applications, but it has a problem of scaling up. It depends on the grid that we already have, and the grid is not sufficient to make this transition. We can also see that wind technology is increasing in use, and it's also being improved. On the bottom right image, you can see bladeless wind generators that are more efficient, cost-effective, environmentally friendly. And on the graph on the lower left, you can see that wind power global capacity is also rising. Yet, despite all these gains, other forms of energy innovations are also required. And the biggest reason is that solar and wind are sources of electricity. They represent only 40% of, for example, America's energy needs. The remainder is split between transportation, 29%, and home and office heating or cooling, 31%. So we need to account for this 60 remaining percent. So what we're seeing is development in bio-based energy. Promising technology is biofuel from algae that produce combustible carbohydrates by combining sun, seawater, and CO2. And if this bio-based energy becomes cost competitive, it could enable advanced biofuels and other products that derive from non-food sources to at least partially replace current food crop-derived biofuels that we are currently using. Also, we are seeing that nuclear reactors, fourth generations, are being developed, and they run on depleted sources, nuclear waste, and weapon-grade cores. So we are seeing advancements happening in the technological way to replace the oil. But the only question is will we have time for this transition? And many believe that it won't be, this transition won't be easy because the oil and gas industries are very well funded, and the thing is we won't be able to change that easily. They won't let go, and they have enough money to hold it for, to hold on for a long time. Okay, so next is environment. So let's look what's happening here. Okay, so first is let's look at the world population. In the last 10,000 years, we saw exponential population growth. It took humankind only, it took around 9,000 years to grow the first 500 million people. Then it took another 800 years to double that. Then it took next doubling took only 130, and in the last 40 years. It just takes the 40 years to double the current world population to nearly 7 billion people. And it's not just that world population is growing. most of the people are, living in the cities now. We are seeing increased urbanization. By 2050, 70% of world population will be urban, and in more developed economies like Northern America, we can expect that 90% of people will be living in the cities. So world's projected population is 9 billion by the year 2050. And as a result of growing population and industrialization, we can expect the impact on the Earth will be also increasing. And it's not only that the world population exploded, but much of the third world countries are becoming more and more industrialized, and they are becoming much more consumer oriented, just like we have done all the way to today, in our Western countries. And one could say that why they shouldn't be entitled to that, as we were entitled to that in all these years. So it's becoming increasingly difficult to maintain the global food production that is needed to feed the population of nearly 7 billion people. And what's going to happen then with 9 billion that we are expecting in 2050? So this is going to put strains, the growing population and industrialization, urbanization is going to put strains on our food and water resources, and we can expect that demand for food is going to rise, and demand for water is going to rise, and a lot of people even today are experiencing severe water stress, and we can expect that even increasing in the future. So all of this is putting strains of earth resources on food, water, soil, and the natural system is of course showing signs of severe stress. The main problem in feeding all the people is agriculture destroying the environment, because it needs expand to more area to feed the people, to grow crops, and this leads to deforestation, where land clearing is releasing carbon and leading to desertification of once forested areas, and then that process of desertification enters like a negative feedback loop where it continues and expands, claiming millions of acres of farmland, and also we see destructions in Amazon and all across the world to grow crops. Our soils are also being degraded and eroded by conventional agriculture, and I saw an interesting study that said from UN that under current farming practices we have 60 years of harvest left. So only 60 if we continue as business as usual. So it takes nature from 200 to 1,000 years to generate 1 inch of soil, topsoil. That's 2.5 centimeters. And our modern agricultural practices often flush away multiple inches and centimeters of topsoil in 1 single year. And with no soil, there is no means of feeding humans. And it's not just that our soils and forests are being destroyed. The oceans, fisheries, and coral reefs that are the coral reefs are the rainforest of the ocean. They are even in the worst condition than forests. And today's fisheries are at the breaking point. So far, 11 of 15 of the world's major fisheries are in a serious decline or have already collapsed. And if the current fishing trends continue, all of the commercial fisheries will have collapsed by 2050. So we have a problem, and the Earth is giving us feedback that something is wrong, and that feedback comes in the form of climate change. And although we keep on discussing, is the climate change and global warming caused by humans or not, I would say that's not important, because global warming threat is real and it's happening. And also people are saying that climate has changed many times before, but that was in different circumstances. Now, it's much faster. It's happening when our ecosystem is collapsing, and we have a global civilization of 7 billion people. We have farm infrastructure and cities. So we're already seeing the impacts of climate change everywhere around us, and more than evidence beyond any modeling. Just the experience that we are seeing in our daily lives is obviously telling us something, that climate change is happening. We are seeing increase in global temperatures, droughts, extreme weather events, fast disappearance of Arctic sea ice, and I could make a whole presentation about what's happening, but I think that we are all aware of what is happening out there. And the present emission pathway is leading us to almost a doubling of greenhouse gases by mid-century in a business as usual scenario. And based on that, we can forecast that this is going to lead to approximately 2 degrees Celsius warming by mid-century, and almost to 6 degrees Celsius under the end of century. But we need to be aware that sometimes predictions are on the lower end, and the changes are far worse. So we can expect that this pattern is going to continue of climate change. And we are also seeing that our biological diversity is suffering as well. We are currently living in a sixth next extinction event that is caused by humans, and we are losing on average several species per day, when before it was much less. This is also going to continue with runaway climate change. So what we are witnessing is a giant experiment that we humans are running, and nobody knows what the outcome will be. As Elon Musk said, we are running the dumbest experiment in the history. Okay, so next is economy. I'll do economy, and then we can do a break. And then if anybody has questions, you can ask. Okay, so this is a big one. Let me just take a sip. Okay, so what you need to know about economy is that money is created as debt, and all money is loaned into existence. When loans are made, money appears like magic. And there are two types of money out there. The first is bank credit, which is money that is loaned into existence by the bank, and that's when you go to the bank and ask for credit, then when the bank gives you your credit, actually the bank is creating money based on your down payment. And the second type of money is also printed out of thin air, but is created by central banks. And this is the form of money we call base money supply of the nation. This money then forms the base of all other loans, which then are used by banks and other sectors to multiply it. Okay, and this is important because this money, which is created out of thin air, because it accumulates interest charges, it promotes the growth of the money supply, even though the principal balance is paid back, and because this interest accumulates over time, the money supply grows exponentially. And this is the system, loaning money into existence at a rate of interest virtually assures this outcome. So because it grows by percentage, it is an exponential system by its very design, and all this leads us to the concept that the idea that perpetual expansion is the requirement of modern banking. So as you can see on these images, every type of debt or credit or loan, they're all the same thing, is growing exponentially, whether it's commercial or industrial loans, whether they are total public debt printed by government or total consumer debt. They're all growing exponentially. And it's not just that debt is forced to grow in this economic model. To feed the expanding debt, the whole economy has to grow. It has to expand whether people want it or not. So that means that manufacturing must increase, sales must increase, and consumption must increase. And what's important to understand is that when you hear the numbers that our economy wasn't growing or was growing by percentages, anything that's growing by some percentage over time is growing exponentially. So that means, if we have an example that our economy is growing 5% per year, that would mean that in 14 years, the whole economy would be twice as large, as fully doubled in just 14 years. So what we have is, accumulation of debt. We have accumulation debt on, in all sectors, and the experience of that of, the countries, developed countries, and even undeveloped is, with the debt is significant. It doesn't matter is it U.S. or United Kingdom or Japan. The debt is doubling, and since 1970s, we've seen exponential growth of debt. But we didn't see the growth of national income or GDP to sustain that debt. So because if you look, if you have a credit card that and your credit card debt is growing, but your income is staying the same, you can see where that is going. You're either going to default or something's going to happen. And we've been seeing that the global debt is been growing in the doubling almost 10 years in all the developed countries, and it has been growing far faster than GDP. So the main question is what kind of economy is required to support these trillions of debt that we have now. But to be fair, I have to say that there is this difference between good debt and bad debt. Good debt or investment debt is the one that you take on debt, but it has a means of paying for itself back. That's productive debt. But unproductive or consumptive debt is the one that the consumer debt that you would buy your computer or your car and this is the debt that is bad. That is. You're borrowing that money from the future into living future life today. So all this debt is actually bringing us, to accumulation of bad debt, and leads to credit bubbles. And bubbles they exist when we have a situation or conditions where we've had greed, hope, and excessive credit, like excessive credit we have today. In the history, we have many bubbles, like gold bubbles, tech bubble, housing bubble in 2008. So this all happens when there is too much credit in the system, and asset prices rises beyond what the price is. But what happens with all bubbles is that bubbles burst, and that's what we saw in 2008. We saw an accumulation of bad debt in the whole financial system. We saw bad debt with bad mortgages and over leveraged banking institutions, and this is a natural process that happens. We see a financial crisis that leverages the bad debt, and then we go again, and that's exactly what happened in 2008, when we saw prices fell across stocks, bonds, real estate, and all other wide number of other asset classes. And ever since 2008, we have seen a slow recovery. We saw austerity measures in European Union. and US, where the crisis originated, has gone slightly better. And historical studies show that recessions are, involving financial crises tend to be deeper and require recoveries that are twice as long. And so what we're seeing is that our international economy is characterized by various regional and national economies moving at significantly different speeds. That is a pattern that is reinforced by the 2008 financial crisis. So what we're experiencing is, the long tail, 2008 crisis, long tail, and it's still dragging because the underlying problem has not been solved. And that underlying problem is, accumulation of debt, and that accumulation of debt, you either can repay the debt or you can default, and you can pay the debt by using your country's income, your GDP, and that is highly unpopular. Or you can either borrow more money to pay off the debt, or you can default. So what central banks have done in 2008 was that they started to try to print money in order to repay all the debts, actually making the whole situation much worse. And as you can see in this image, in the top left image, this is a total monetary base. That means how much debt there is. And since 2008, you can see the recessions in these shaded areas. And after 2008, we've seen an expansion of debt or even more. And this of course,
I'm afraid that we might have lost William there. Are you guys hearing him? Put a 1 in if you're still hearing William. I am not.
No, and his webcam is frozen.
Right. Well, let's hope he gets that figured out here. This is awesome presentation. I sense some of you being a little bit impatient. This is really important.
Accumulated debt is not solved. Okay, so next technology. I don't know if anybody has any questions. I'm happy to answer because this was.
Yeah, William, we probably lost about your last 30 seconds. So if you wouldn't mind repeating that, your webcam froze up. So go back one slide further. You were talking here about the bubble and how the debt crisis has caused a little bit of an artificial feeling, and that's where we lost you. So if you wouldn't mind, maybe repeat that. Now we're not hearing you at all. So your mic is off. Ooh. Wow.
Not a real recovery because, as I said, there are two ways to deal with accumulated debt. You can either repay it or default on it. And in order to repay, you can use your national income, your GDP, or you can use your central bank to print more money, actually issue more debt to then repay the debt. And that's what we've been seeing since 2008. And as you can see in the upper left image, we see accumulation of more and more debt as central banks are printing more and more money. And this is, of course, the excessive. This money is actually disappearing into banking and creating speculative bubbles in asset classes of all kinds. We have all kinds of bubbles, and as we are seeing in the lower left image, in stock we also have a bubble, but you can see bubble in housing prices and and commodities and other. We are currently living in a bubble. And that is going to unfold in some, maybe it's going to unfold in 5 years, 2 years, 1 year, but we are currently, that is the fact. And what we know from history, what we know that how the economic cycle works is that after growth, is a peak and then there is a recession. That's totally natural. And periods of relative financial capability has always been followed by waves of default and restructuring. And what I'm saying is that we are probably due for another restructuring or deleveraging of bad debt.
Awesome. Well, Katie asked a great question. So, and you should probably mute your mic while I'm talking. Okay, you hear me now? She says, how do we get the message out to other people that current financial systems are not sustainable without being called doom mongers and being dismissed? And by the way, a couple people have left this already today because they said, oh, this is just doom and gloom. So that's the way people feel. So it's a great question, Katie. I hope they're hearing me. William, why don't you jump back in? I'll mute myself now. Not hearing William again now. We're having, as you can tell, that echo that you're hearing there is something related to his internet quality. Remember, this is amazing. This guy's in Croatia. A bunch of us are in the United States and in South America and in Australia, everywhere around the world, and we're listening to this. Great information. Katie, I think the way we do it is what we're doing here today. I'm going to give my answer, and I hope William comes back on. Deborah, we lost him entirely. Is he off? I'm not looking. I can't look at the questions and then look at the attendees also.
I
Mark?
still see him on the attendee list.
Okay. We seem to have lost his audio and his video for now. But I think the way we get it across is we just give a message out, just in matter-of-factly in the way that William's doing it. We get it out in multiple forums in front of lots of people, and we use all the different groups that are out there. Regeneration International, for example, is now going to become one of our partners. Terra Genesis is becoming a partner. Already Sustainable Design Master Classes, more and more people. And let's play it as a marathon. Take it one bite at a time. And get the information out in that way. The slide says UK debt equals 900% of GDP. However, all the references I have seen to quote 80 to 90%. I'm not a UK debt person at all, Mary, so I can't help with that. I hope William comes back on here and we can get this. The next question from Leslie is, this is on the finances, have just been posted via a company called Agora. It's here, it's coming. I'm not sure what Leslie, I understand what you're saying, but when you say this is on the finances, maybe that's something you're talking about the slide. My only bone of contention, this is from Frank, is global warming, climate change. I totally agree that man is wreaking havoc on the planet. The awards and globalists raping, pillaging, and enslaving and profiting a lot. So are our politicians and wishes. So my focus is actually what to do myself, for my family and community, and build from here, which is, I think, going to be what William's going to talk about in some depth as he moves along in his series. Chris Jones asks, are these webinars a series that could build on previous? Yes, William's going to be talking maybe for the next 30 weeks. Our whole series here, we've had over 180 hours of webinars to this point, and you're going to be getting a membership to our free site to where you can get some of those replays, not all of them. We actually, again, there's hundreds of them now, and we have what's called an elite membership that we can talk about later that will allow you to get all the webinars that we've done. That's the whole point of this community. I didn't quite understand from the written info, and I missed the first one. Is this a series? He doesn't have any connection at all. Is there info on what's covered and what dates? Today has little interest to me. Then great, why don't you get off? So the reality is, that's, William, we lost you for quite a bit there. And we're going to give out tough love. Again, nobody's forcing anyone to be here, and you're here free. You can do whatever you like and be wherever you want, whenever you want to be. So instead of just putting negative upon here, why don't you just leave? And that really should be for everybody. blockchain or Bitcoin, is this offering hope? William, are you hearing us at all? He's coming back on, but I'm not sure whether he's hearing it or not.
Okay, I can hear you now. Yeah,
yeah, there's been several questions. Quite a few people really negative.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, and that's what I told them. But here's one: blockchains or bitcoins? Is this offering hope? A great question from Kenny. Did you hear that?
Which one is
blockchains or bitcoins?
Yeah. Okay. I'll get to that, but that's alternative currency that maybe is going to be that's that could be something that we could maybe transition into one day because it's decentralized. But in the short term, I think that could be we could use that as a means of creating alternative economies in between ourselves as a permaculturist that are into sustainable agriculture as a means of bypassing central governments and banking. So I'll touch on that. I'll touch on that later. But for now, it's a viable solution for some of us that want to use that as a means of trading.
Okay. So Mike says, I wish you would not use the term printing money. The correct term is creating money. I have been preaching this for years, and it's hard to get people to listen. It gets too complex for people very quickly. So great comment, Mike. You're certainly welcome to your feelings there. And another one here, Mark Vidler says, the Crash Course by Chris Martenson, website, book, and DVD is the best resource I've found on the financial crisis. It's very well researched and easy to understand and not alarmist. I'd recommend pointing people to Chris's work. That said, most people aren't open to hearing this info, so you have just to let it go. And that's probably a good point. This is one of the reasons. Again, folks, you guys, I'm going to read these, but it's really William's course. Your opinions are important, but we do have actually a question and answer period that we could do another time. Lynn says this is one of the reasons that I joined the Eat Time to find out that I find it frustrating to me how difficult it is for me to actually transition to a permaculture lifestyle. And most people think that I just want to be a Harvey farm and not an actual serious permaculture farm. And then she comes in, so I'm really enjoying these webinars. Bitcoin leverages the current system, and I do not see it all as a solution, just an extension. So there's a lot of people's opinions here, and that's great. You guys have questions. Throw in some questions if you have them. So Thomas says, super webinar. Cryptocurrency requires the grid, no guarantees of that, or the government can do. Again, I think people just a lot of vetting of their own feelings, which is great. So I don't see any other specific. Well, here we go. Warren says, when are you looking at alternatives? He's just making a comment also. I'm sorry. You guys are going to get a copy of all this in the replay. So if you've got questions, just please ask. So Chris says, thanks for the clarification. Sorry, I didn't intend to be that negative. I just missed that info. I just signed up from an email. It didn't look like the website. Thanks again. So on the Facebook page, people have been talking about gap between producing and marketing. Happy to learn about context. So somebody's thanking you for that. So appreciate that. The introduction of universal income will allow people to take up, again, I don't see many questions, just a lot of opinions. Opinions are great.
That's great. But, okay. This is, there's a thing. Whole books are written about this subject. I didn't invent this. Didn't just came, out of ether. I done research, and whoever wants to learn more, I'm just, opening eyes to what's happening there. It could be seen as negative, but it's important to understand what's happening so we can, adapt our lifestyles and create, resilience in our life. So that's why this is important, I would say.
Keith asked, do you run courses in Croatia?
No.
Okay. And there's a lot of people who are saying really good positives in here too. There is one question I think that's legitimate. Back on your slide that has the UK debt that it shows 900% of GDP, she says she's seen other references of 85 to 90% of GDP. So she was just wondering where that data came from.
Well, probably this is all kinds of debt. It's non-financial, it's financial, and the financial debt because of the city of London is probably the one that is contributing, and that's all the speculating that's being done in the city. That is a state for itself in the middle of London. So if we have only household and government and non-financial, then it's much less. But that's probably why it's so huge here.
And I have two more here. These are good questions now. Great, people. Thank you for putting this. How do we get the policymakers to listen? So she says maybe potentially a permaculture lobby to the government. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I don't think that they're. I'll get to that later, and I'll explain why I think that our politicians won't be able to do anything because the whole system has too much inertia, and even if we have a politician who will listen, it's just too complicated for him to make any changes in our system. And we'll see later. You'll see later what I mean.
Okay, awesome. Again, remember, William's going to be talking for weeks on this, so he'll get to these things. Lynn asks, how do we transition from a non-debt society to debt societies? Is there something that happened that caused that?
Well, I think we need a clean slate. We need to, something. That's what I was trying to say. When we have a recession is actually a good feedback from the system that what is happening is not good, and then we get the leveraging, and then we have a clean slate that we can then mold to our needs, once again. But that didn't happen after 2008. We just continued what we were doing before, accumulating more debt. So now we are even in a more bigger bubble. And only after a recession, that's my own opinion, that we'll be able to put another system in place.
So that's a good one for you. You did address it a little bit last week. But William, are you finding enough time with having to work a day job to develop your permaculture system fast enough so that you can see time date arriving for stepping off the grid?
First thing is it's all about priorities, and I'll talk about developing the farm. So first our priorities. The second is developing multiple income streams. That's important. And you were saying time. My whole time is divided between the website work, the research I'm doing and writing, and the work I do outside. So what I do is I spend at least every day 2 hours dedicated to building my better future, and that helps me to keep my sanity, because I know that I am doing something good for my future, and that also eliminates fear and anxiety, because anxiety resides in that gap between what I know that I should be doing and what I'm doing. So by doing something every day, I don't believe the systems. I'll get to that later. We are not. Collapse is not going to happen overnight, and you'll see what I'm saying after. We can have all the questions after. This is the main point. The collapse is not happening overnight.
Awesome. Mary just makes a point, but then she asked a question, and she said that Ivanka Trump has talked about taking up the climate change issue as her agenda. And then she commented about Al Gore. But anyway, bottom line, she says, is there a way that this group can get permaculture messages to her? I hope so. I don't know why we couldn't, why any of us couldn't. But as a group, we're even stronger. A small group can do a little, and a little bigger group can do a little bit more. And if we work together, It's like twines of thread put together. One twine is not very strong. 2 is a little bit stronger. 3 is a lot stronger. 4 and more is way stronger. So yeah, we can do a lot. And it's just up to us. It's what we're willing to do. William, it's coming up close to the top of the hour. You can go as long as you'd like. We could make this as a break point, or else you've got other stuff that you wanted to continue with. Up to you here.
I can continue, but you just tell me for how long, because I'm a little bit more than halfway, I think.
Okay. Well, and again, there's still a lot of people out there that are willing to be listening. I think the serious ones are there. Throw in some ones, everybody, if you'd like William to keep going. Here, he's got about another probably half an hour of information, or if you'd like him to take a break and continue to, everybody's throwing ones in. They want you to keep going, man. So I don't see anybody not saying yes to that. I'm going to just quickly, before he does that, because I think I told everybody at the start, I'm going to jump off. Deb and Mark are going to continue. I'm going to just quickly talk about one thing here. I'm going to take over the screen for just a second and change presenter to me. Where am I on here? Whoa, that's weird. There's millions of people. There it is. There I am. So you guys seeing my screen? Put a 1 up there in just a second if you're seeing my screen. Guys see it? Throw a 1 in the questions. Okay, good.
Yeah, I am.
So real quickly through this, a lot of people have asked, how do I get this information? Okay, and I'm just going to put this here, quickly go through this. You can get it by becoming a member of this group called the Economic Action Team. And I'm not going to talk through all this stuff. You can read it. You can actually just write me an email and I'll send you a link to this presentation. But this is way bigger than just William's presentations. Right now, we've got up to 15 hours a week of broadcasts from world experts teaching on all these kinds of topics. And you want to get into detail, you want to hear about, for example, shrimp aquaculture that I talked about last night, and you come to that section. If you don't want to go to that session, you go to another session. We're trying to pick hundreds of these different kinds of things out. Our goal is to get to where we're talking for 168 hours a week. That's how many hours there are in a week. And you can get this. You can just become a member of our free team, and then you'll get invited to all these sessions. You can pick which ones you want to go to, and don't go to other ones. We only started this in June of this year, and we're going to hit 5,000 members by the end of the day today, once I get everybody logged in. And that's a pretty amazing growth. And that means some people are interested in this. So this is not pitching. You haven't heard us talking about any courses. We're not going to hurry. That's why we're not pushing William. He can go for as long as he wants. We believe we've got the best teachers on the topics on the planet for the things that we're teaching about. And you could potentially become a teacher and a coach. The biggest thing we want to do here is we want you to help build your business. If your desire, for example, is to get to Ivanka Trump and to give the message that permaculture is, then let's all work together and help that become a reality. That's our goals. So you can join for free. And you just go to this website that's shown here, seed.mikajabi.com. We're going to actually join you that are attending this, but if you've got other people, we have an affiliate program where you can actually get prizes and things for helping people sign up. Plus, we also have a paid version of this. And it's $75 a month. We've got hundreds of different testimonials from people who will tell you how valuable that is. But we're offering a great deal right now. You can get the first month for just $2, so that you can get all these webinars, all their replays. All the lives are free, but if you want to get all the replays, we have a elite membership where we have a special for $2. There's all kinds of things that you're going to get. I'm not going to go through all this right now. You can just read this, you can get it later. But real simply, here's how you do it. You just put this discount code, William3, William3. When you sign up, there'll be a place to put that in, and you can get into it for $2. There's all kinds of bonuses that we'll also give you that are worth way more than that. And I'm just going to put this slide on for a second. Again, William3, if you want to do this, which is limited to the first 100 people that want to do this. We're really doing this for certain of our speakers. And again, here's some information about it. And I'm going to stop there. turn it back over to William and let him just continue teaching, because this is awesome stuff. All right, William, it's all back to you, man.
Okay. So am I sharing the screen currently, or you are? I can't hear it.
Your screen up there?
You can see here, yeah?
I'm going to make you the presenter.
Yeah, okay, that's it. Okay, thanks. All right.
There you go. Yep.
Just a second. Okay, so just do this.
By the way, your volume is a lot better now.
Okay, so it's better now, yeah?
Yes.
Okay. So I'll continue for those of ones who are left and who are still interested. The next, big thing that we are going to look at is technology, because everybody likes technology. I like technology, and technology is maybe going to save us for our troubles. And we all remember, the days when we had stupid old computers. And I was born in 1982, and on the lower left image you can see Commodore 64. This was my first computer, and if I remember, I had cassette player where I would put my cassettes, and it would load for 10 minutes depending on the complexity of the game, and then I would eventually have game. And in the same year, in 1982, we have an executive portable, Osborne executive portable. That's a bleeding edge computer. It weighed 12 kilos. That's 28 pounds, and cost a little over $2,500. And if we compare what we have today with iPhone, with this 100 of weight and 1/10 of the cost, while at the same time 100,000 times more of memory and 150 times more of processing speed. So what I'm saying here, that technology is the growth in technology is also following exponential growth. We are seeing accelerating growth in technology, and this is because of the Moore law, who states that every 2 years we have the number of transistors on an integrated circle that doubles, and then the computers get twice as fast for the same price. And this astounding increase in computer power, speed, memory, coupled with the drop in price, is exponential change at work. And what I'm going to address first here is maybe all the environment and energy and economy thing. Maybe you are all aware of, but where we as a society, when it comes to information technology, are going. This is becoming really interesting. Because information technology is entering big data era, and big data is just a fancy word of that. There is a lot of data available, and now we are finally able to process that data and store it for almost free. And it's not like we didn't have data before. We had data before, but now we have means of storing, analyzing, and using the data in all imaginable ways that we want, and that means that everything you do, everything you buy, everything that you interact with will be eventually collected and stored in the cloud. And this will both offer great services, but also it will present new challenges for both government and for both individuals. So what we're moving towards is a highly networked society, one of networks and sensors. One big network that we are all aware of is internet, and sensors are little devices that are able to detect information, temperature, vibration, radiation, and such. Together, this network and all the sensors are going to form something that is called Internet of Things. You can imagine a future where all these devices that you have from your phone to your screen, to your TV, to your computer, to your fridge are all going to be connected. Suddenly maybe you'll be able to find your keys by just putting it in Google search. So this is the future where we are going. Also, what is happening, is the rise of the social networks in the last 10 years. They are becoming, the fabric of online existence, and we get more and more services that are integrating into everything that we do online. And if you can imagine just a world before Facebook, before YouTube, before all the services that they used to, that Facebook didn't exist until 2004. So the world before these social networks is almost unimaginable, and we're seeing that people are embracing it and finding innovative uses of these networks. All the logos in the lower left. Facebook, Twitter, Google+, LinkedIn, Vimeo, Snap, Reddit. These networks are all around us, and in the future they are going to become even more important for corporations, for governments, and for us individuals, as I'm going to outline that in later stages. So because of this highly connected Internet of Things, and this big data and this network society that we will be living and already are living, we are going to see a rise of smart cities, and these smart cities are going to maximize productivity, and hopefully resource use. We can also expect that you'll be able, as a citizen living in that city, you'll be able to interact with the city smart infrastructure, and we're already doing that today. When you have an app on your mobile phone, and you're seeing based on GPS where when the next tram is coming or where it is. This is the future that we are already living in. And you can also imagine that future cities will be built with this technology already integrated. That that can make cities of urban nightmare or something really efficient. That is still yet to see. And of course, all these social networks, all this surveillance, all these connected technologies will give governments unprecedented ability to monitor citizens. And because of the cheap storage of their data, or because of the rise of artificial intelligence, or because of the rise of interconnected society, it's going to become increasingly easy to create a surveillance city where everything that you do will be tracked, and because it's easy, it's easy to store the data. It's going to be analyzed, and it's going to be I wouldn't say used for bad purposes, but used for bad purposes can be government using it to track its citizenship, or something like private companies making a profile of you as a consumer. So we can all see that surveillance will increase with time. Next big trend in technology is automation and advanced manufacturing technologies. And the first of these technologies is 3D printing. This is something called additive manufacturing. That's a group of technologies that allow a machine to build an object by adding one layer of material and time. So they're already in use, but you can say they are shitty versions, and they're able to make models from plastics. But you can clearly see the trend where this type of manufacturing could replace some conventional mass production. So 3D printing in the future will allow individuals to create physical items from digital blueprints. The next trend is artificial intelligence and robotics, combining into optimization. And we can see that when it comes to robotics, we can see that we are extending the capabilities of robots. They are crossing boundaries between industrial robots and non-industrial robots. Although their cognitive abilities yet need to be improved, But can you imagine what will happen in 20 years with these highly disruptive technologies when they're going to be in place? We can see that they could eliminate human labor as much as back in the era of when the cars were produced by humans, and then everything was done by the machines. We can see this kind of disruption coming in the future, and military is already using robots, and it's going to increase the use of robots in the future, because why not? If you can control the robot from the United States that's fighting in Iraq, why not? Also, we're going to see, because of this AI and robotization, we're going to see remote and autonomous vehicles, of course, drones and self-driving vehicles. And we can see remote vehicles used in military and for specific industrial tasks in remote operations. But the trends are showing that we're going to use it even more and more. And in the lower left image, you can see autonomous tractor, and it looks a little bit scary. But this is the trend where big ag is going. Within the next 5 to 10 years, we can expect that we'll have autonomous tractors that will begin to take on a full range of roles in large scale farming, and this will probably look like a big manufacturing operation. And beyond this, artificial intelligence is going to reshape our lives in many other sectors. But as I said, this is beyond the scope of this presentation. I just want to make aware of the trends that are coming. Okay, so what can we expect in the coming years? So what is happening in response to these existential threats? We are seeing a lot of handshaking. We are seeing a lot of smiling, political notes and signing of the documents. But talk is cheap. Real solutions will be amongst the most expensive ones, and the most radical task that humanity ever taken in the history. So our entire food and energy production system will have to be re-engineered, and we won't solve our problems by signing few policies or changing few policies or signing few agreements. And most of the responsible nations, what they're doing is doing a little bit more than making soothing noises publicly, while continuing with business as usual in the background. And some of them, like Donald Trump, are open publicly saying that they don't believe in climate change, and we need to continue growth at all costs. So the problem is that we're continuing with business as usual. This is just one example that I saw on my Facebook feed. While the Canadian Prime Minister is saying one thing publicly, in the background, Canada is giving enormous subsidies to fossil fuel producers. So when it comes also to climate change, we are seeing that mainstream policy is shifting from mitigation to adaptation, because internationally nobody wants to disadvantage itself in a competitive global economy when it does not trust that others will do the same. So we are seeing actually failure of intergovernmental climate and trade negotiations as we speak. And the core problem of that it's never really publicly recognized is by politicians or central planners is that our system of money and our banking and financial systems are hopelessly addicted to the exponentially growing piles of debt and money. There is no collective political will to reform the monetary system away from the dependence of perpetual growth. And we're also seeing the continuation of the global financial crisis let's say in Greece and other places. Well, Italy, Europe is especially in trouble. So what we need is a consistent government financial support for the development of new energy technologies. And there is no significant effort currently underway from the government. What we are seeing private companies doing the work for the government, and they are doing that in in an environment where, you know, free market, big business such as coal and oil has been given huge tax advantages and subsidies, while, you know, giving them unfair advantage over the renewables. This is just a picture of a Tesla gigafactory, and you know, this is the man who is trying to do real change despite all, you know, the bullshit that we get from our politicians. So we have countries that are doing, you know, necessary work. You know, we have you know, Denmark or Germany, and this is on the lower left is Tesla solar roof, and we have this train from Germany. But what I'm trying to say is that all these technologies are not yet equal to the task. They have been advancing nicely, but we need to do much more. The whole system needs to be re-engineered if we want to transition to something more sustainable. And honestly, I'm not seeing that currently happening. So, which brings me to my main point, and that is that central government systems are rigid and slow to change, and they don't adapt and evolve until they absolutely have to. There is no collective political will to take actions and to power down or reduce emissions. And what I was explaining earlier is that even if we have informed politicians about what has to be done, and they have, you know, will to do that, they don't have the freedom of action that would require to actually deliver that whatever they want, because simply system has too much inertia. It's too bureaucratic and it's too unresponsive. So I don't think it's realistic to expect our leaders to make this mindset shift on their own before they can't keep their heads above water anymore. There are just too many people who are invested emotionally, financially, and otherwise in continuing the status quo for as long as possible. It just shows that if the establishment can deny, ignore, or delay dealing with problems, it will. So in the coming years, we can expect more business as usual, increase in global extraction rates of important non-renewable commodities, expansion of the energy and resource industries through mega projects or even more on even more unprecedented scale, economic growth at all costs, and accumulation of more debt, more pollution and greenhouse emissions despite the climate change. And I would reason that this is completely normal, because this is what natural systems do. If you heard about overshoot in carrying capacity, then, you know, carrying capacity is a capacity of ecosystem that to maintain specific number of organisms indefinitely in a particular habitat that is favorable in a stable circumstances. And overshoot happens when circumstances become particularly favorable for a local organism for a while, enabling that particular organism to flourish, and it then temporarily exceeds the ecological carrying capacity of its local system. And what happens then is, of course, it crashes. So we can see that in examples of yeast, in example of deer, and in example of fish population. So this is completely normal, that once we have favorable conditions, we just keep on exploiting resources. But we even have a bigger problem, and that is our political leaders that are basically, you know, psychopathic in nature, to say at least. So obviously there is a change ahead, but, you know, we humans are not doing much to prepare. You know, complex systems under stress, they tend to resist change until they reach a breaking point. And most people resist change and tend to avoid anything that's uncomfortable. And we remain in our comfort zone until we are forced out of it. And you know that from your own experience in your own life. You know, we are postponing going to dentist because, you know, the pain is not that significant yet. And once, you know, pain is intolerable, when we come, it's already too late. Or we eat food that is not healthy, because the consequences of eating that food are, you know, in the future, and we are not, as humans, wired to deal with long-term, you know, perspectives. We rather just react to short-term dangers. So that's why I say that most likely we'll continue business as usual. We'll be doing that as long as we can, and until there is a disruptive crisis or a global emergency of some sort. The current system is corrupt, and it's unlikely to change without a crisis. As I said before, it's already invested in business as usual. Our current energy infrastructure, banking sector, everything is it's too hard to change anything. Even a conversion to a steady state economy running on renewable energy is unlikely without a massive geopolitical economic crisis or some kind of shift that's going to perpetuate that. So the main question is, are we headed for a collapse? This is the main question that I want you to get from this presentation. So here's what I would say, that instead collapse, historical examples suggest a more gradual or less complete decline process. So it's not going to be like a big, it's going to be collapse overnight. If it's going to be something, it's going to be rather a gradual decline. And this graph shows here the growth curve of Roman Empire, and you can see, it's not collapsing suddenly. It's a sudden, it's a sudden in certain points, but it's actually gradual decline. And what happens is that complex human societies, they start off in a situation where they are able to solve problems by adding additional complexity, additional institutions, regulation, taxes, bigger military. But for a long time, that's a good way to solve problems, and it works, and it produces a positive return on investment, at least for a ruling class. But at a certain point of society, and that's happening usually when they run up against limits of what they're getting their energy from, or local resources that they are over depleting, they reach a situation where investing into additional complexity is actually providing diminishing returns and eventually negative returns. So things start to decline, and we get simplification. We don't get collapse, we get simplification. So that's why I said that complex systems under stress, they tend to resist change until they reach a breaking point, and then they alter their state very quickly. So this is something that I adapted from David Holmgren, and what he's saying, that collapse is going to be most likely a slow decline, characterized by a series of steady states punctuated by crisis or mini collapses that destroy some sort of industrial or consumerist culture, or some sort of our culture that we are used to, and then they perpetuate change. And if these changes are these changes going to be positive or negative? It's yet to be seen. Actually, a lot of them are saying that we are actually going to experience, a gradual decline without going to more positive futures. But I'll leave that on a much positive note, that maybe after this crisis we can eventually progress into more or better society. Because if you see on this image, okay, so the Roman Empire did collapse, but here we are again, as a society, much more advanced, much more better off, but making the same mistakes as they did before. So I would say that the future is going to we're going to have these mini shocks or mini collapses that are going to be periods of crisis, conflict, breakdown, or for example just GFC of 2008, great financial crisis 2008. Everything was fine until one day we had a crash, and then that recession has been dragging ever since then. So this is the kind of crisis or collapses or shocks that we can expect. We can expect some kind of energy crisis, water wars. I did put here disruptive technologies because they are going to disrupt our way of living, or some kind of climate extreme events or financial crisis as well. So what I want to say that even now, post recession, we are living and our lives are normal, and because we get used to that being normal. But then and then we get these shocks, and things get a little bit scary. But then we again the civilization that is after is a new normal, and we get used to that. And what I'm trying to say that we'll probably, there won't be collapse overnight. What you can expect are these shocks that are going to change our society in some way, maybe for better, maybe for better. Long term, probably we're going to experience decline, but what comes after the decline is, maybe, more positive things rather than, negative things. So this is where I'm going to stop. Next time I'm going to talk about, possible, what are these possible future disruptions, and paint a picture about the future. And based on that, we are going to be preparing for and designing our lifestyles and building our resilient permaculture farms based on this context, because this is the foundation that we build our resilient lifestyles on. So that's it, and hopefully people are still here.
Yes, this is Mark here. There's several people with questions, and
okay.
there are also some people with their hands raised, so they will come on live.
Okay. How can we do that?
Okay, I will unmute Barry, and if he wants to speak, he can go ahead and ask the question. Okay. You're live. Okay, let's see if Jose wants to speak.
Well, we can just, yeah.
Hello, Jose, you're on.
Well, if we can't hear the audio, I'll just answer questions if there are any.
Okay, so I'll look at questions.
Now, if anybody has questions, we're speaking now. Okay, so anybody has questions? Let me see. Can you find any questions, Mark?
Yeah, I'm going through the questions.
Okay.
I'm going through this.
Okay, speaking now. With the audio thing I'll need to work on the audio thing.
Right.
Okay.
So I don't really see questions.
No.
There's a bunch of comments here.
Okay, so if nobody has a question, then we're basically done. And okay. Last call. Any questions, or I'm about to go? This was a little bit longer than I was expecting that it's going to be, but we'll see next time. Okay, there is Keith Pierce. He's saying, do you earn your living entirely from permaculture-based jobs? You could say that. You could say that I have a. It's not that simple because I have my savings. My wife is working. I'm having my website that is generating some revenue, and I have things that I'm growing my food. So that's a sort of income, and I'm selling trees in my nursery. So I have all kinds of things going, and I don't have a single income, but all things are actually with a low living expenses. I can say that I'm living from my permaculture-based lifestyle currently. Okay, thank you. What do you see as solutions? Well, I'm going to get to that in the next presentation, Amanda, because I know this was a little bit disturbing because it's uncomfortable information, but I'm just setting a scene for how we can actually use what is happening, use these trends for our own advantage, and set up systems that are resilient and anti-fragile, systems that are going to benefit from the crises that are coming. And I outlined that in my first presentation. All comes down to setting up a permaculture farm and your lifestyle. Permaculture farms designed for your water, designing your living systems, your infrastructure, using technology, as we saw, and then developing farm economy. I'll be talking, this whole presentation is all about that. Yeah, sound was not good. That's not good. I looked at truffles, but I didn't experiment. Where I can, the question is, have you looked at truffles to grow on your property? Yes, I looked into that subject, but I wasn't, because my property floods. I'm not sure how the truffles would respond in my situation. So maybe on my second part, where I have my orchard, maybe things will be, maybe I can do that there. But as I understand, this really takes time to grow truffles. It's not that easily, the condition, it has to outcompete the fungi that's already present there. So I'm not sure about the whole truffles thing, but I was looking into that. So there is, Amanda, I see the trends too, do see a combination of technology and natural systems developments. I think the question was, do you see a combination of technology and natural systems? I see that because technology that we have can be overlaid on our landscape. And that's what I was saying. We have water, we have living systems, and then we have infrastructure that is overlaid over our landscape. That's access structures that we're using, energy that we are generating, and also new technologies that we might be using in the future, and also alternative currencies that we that are being developed. So all those things can be used for our advantage. We just need to be aware of them, because knowledge is power. As I said, we can be proactive. Rather hurt me with the truth than consult me with a lie, something like that. I think the saying is. Yeah, Eric, I'm not sure what's happening with the audio. That's a little bit concerning, but I'll see. Okay, Keith, do you think permaculture lifestyle can be enjoyed in a city or suburban areas, not just rural? I think that you can use certain, because permaculture is, of course, design science. It's a way of thinking. So you can adapt, develop systems in your zone 0 and zone 1. As in a city you have only zone 0. Basically your house or your mind first, and then your house, and suburban you have your zone 1, maybe something zone 2. So as you get more rural, then you get zone 3 and zone 4. So as a system thinking, permaculture can be used anywhere, especially if you embrace that kind of lifestyle and then become accustomed to developing these kinds of systems. They can be transition there. They can use that later in your life, because I see this as going for this is my life goal, living this kind of life, and I'm not seeing that as a temporary thing. So when I do when I think about my future, I think also, what can I learn in this situation? What kind of systems I can develop so I can use them later on my property, even in suburban or in more urban rural setting. So the best. Okay, so Lynn is giving me advice about audio echo, and yeah, probably I had some other mic was involved while I was recording this. Okay, and the end has a how does this movement support a class of industry like trades? I don't see the basics and high tech only existing. I'm not sure if I understand your question, Diane, but how does the movement support a class of industry like trades? I will try to guess what you asked, but I'll say that what I said before, and that's that this is the permaculture design science, and it becomes a way of thinking. That's why I say my way of thinking today is how can I look at big patterns before moving to details, and this is the presentation that we're having is about big patterns. You could see all the graphs, that's big patterns, and moving to small details. So this is just one of the principles, and there are more principles from Bill Moss and David Hogan, basically using those principles in your life. Stacking functions, is also one great one. What can how can you use tools in your trays that are that you can stack functions that provide you with multiple functions. So. Okay. So if there are no more questions, let's call it a short now. If you're, yeah, I think there are no more questions, Mark.
Okay. William, why don't you mute your computer, because I think the echo is coming from your side when I'm speaking.
Okay, let me just.
Hello. Okay, so thanks everybody for coming, and tomorrow we'll have Deb and Wayne talking about alpacas, and they're very special alpaca farmers that you'll find out tomorrow. And we'll have the replay of this webinar on our seed.mykajabi.com tomorrow morning. So check that out too, and don't forget to use William3 as your promotion code when you sign up for the elite team. And then I'll give William the last word to say goodbye. So thanks again, everybody, and William, just say goodbye, and then we'll stop recording.
Right. So thanks, Mark. Thanks, everybody. I hope that you learned something, and I hope that you'll be here next time, and that I'll fix my audio problem, because that could be that's a little bit disappointing. Okay, thank you very much.
Awesome. I'm stopping.